Welcome to Youth Voices of Cincinnati. My name is Ryan. This is my co-host.
I'm Lonnie Shelton. We are here with our guest today, Darryl Lassen, and we're going to talk about a few things like his life, childhood, growing up, and his success of graduating.
Hello everyone, I'm Darryl Lassen, 23 years old from Toledo, Ohio, and I'm excited to be here today to talk to you all about my story.
So tell us about your childhood.
I grew up in a neighborhood that wasn't what you consider the best neighborhood, but I will say having a great foundation with my family and church and everything like that, I really had a solid foundation in my growth to where even maybe I was surrounded by people who weren't doing the right things or in a neighborhood where a lot of things were happening. Because of my solid foundation, it gave me a good solid ground to build off of and to not go in a route where I know that others are going, but to kind of be strong and make up my own mind and do what I know is right. So I would say overall I had a pretty good childhood.
Growing up, have you ever experienced peer pressure from the environment around you? Mm-hmm. Like you've got into those type of things before, but what you're saying is you always known better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Definitely. I think even as adults, all the way from the moment that you're in school to the moment you die, you're going to experience peer pressure, whether if it's from students, it's from people that you work with, it can even be from family or friends. I think the important thing is to just know what your morals and values are and to understand that, no one can make me do what I don't want to do. So if you don't want to do something, then you have to make up in your mind that that's not what I'm going to want to do, so that's not what I'm going to do. The peer pressure is always there. I would say that I've been pretty good at, understanding and setting my foot ground on, I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. So, stay away from me with that. Yeah. I don't do any of that. No matter how many times you ask me, that's not something that I'm going to do. So peer pressure is always there. It's just a matter of just knowing what you will do and what you will not do.
Without that solid foundation, do you think things would be different?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I know there's some times where when maybe someone would say, here, do you want to do this or do you want to try this? And right in that instant, I can hear my parents' voice, or there's something that comes in my mind where I know, oh crap, I've been taught, for years that this is not a good route to go down. You shouldn't try this or you shouldn't do that. So I definitely believe if I didn't have that foundation, then who knows where I would be. I probably would have just strayed away. But anytime anything came up and I know that it wasn't right, I could hear that inner voice kind of in the back of my head telling me, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't try this.
Who's your biggest supporter when you was growing up?
I would say my mom was probably my biggest supporter. Moms are always there. Yeah. There's nothing like a mom. Not to say my dad was there. My dad was there, but there's something special about, a mother. And so my mom was always there, high times, low times, just always there. So she's definitely been a true source of inspiration.
There are heroes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Have you ever doubted yourself from graduating? Because growing up now, I know I want to graduate and everything, but you still sometimes think dang, what if I don't pass this or what if I don't do that? Have you ever had to just sit down and rearrange your thoughts about graduating one day?
Just kind of a little bit about me. Ever since preschool, I've never really liked school. I was always the kid to where, I would cry before I leave for school, and my mom had to give me a pep talk and say, Darryl, you'll be back home at noon. And all the way up to high school, I did good in school, but I just didn't like school. Mm-hmm. Even through college, I did pretty well in college, but I still didn't really like school. And I think I had my low point my sophomore year of college. I remember sitting at my dining room table, and I was telling my mom, it's Mom, I'm thinking I'm ready to drop out. I don't like my classes. I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know if this is what I want to do. And I remember telling her that, I think I'll just work in a factory or something. I'll just, they make pretty good money. It's not the best environment, but they make pretty good money. I'll just do that. And I remember that day, my mom kind of had this pep talk with me at the dining room table. And ever since that day, there was kind of a switch. And it was kind of my turning point. It was my sophomore year of college. And ever since then, I kind of clicked in my mind that, I know what it is I want to do. I know the kind of life I want to live. I know what I want to, I like nice things, and I know what it's going to take for me to get there, and school is that route. So it's kind of there's no other option. I just have to I just have to bite the bullet and just do what I have to do because it's only a matter of time. I don't know if you all like school. Some people like school, some people don't like school, but I always say it's just a matter of time. If life is going to go on anyways, you might as well finish. Let's say, for instance, if I would have dropped out of college my sophomore year, life still would have kept on going. And then I would have been working at, a factory or somewhere else. So if life is going to keep going on anyways, you might as well finish. And now I can look back and say it's done and behind me. I can wash my hands of school. I have a pretty good job and I'm doing what I love. Had I dropped out, I wouldn't be where I am today.
How did you pick your career?
That's a very good question because I kind of never, growing up, I didn't really know what it was I wanted to do, but I know what I was good at. So I'm pretty good at anything artsy. I can draw, I do photography, I do some graphic work and things like that. So it wasn't until I had my very first job, which was through an arts program in Toledo called through the Arts Commission of Toledo. It's called the Young Artists at Work program. So that was my very first job at, 2010. So I was 14 years old, very first job. And through that job, that's how I found out that whatever I did in my future, whatever I did in my future career, I had to be able to utilize my creative skills and my creative ability. So that was kind of the basis. I knew I had to be artsy. So around the time of college, I knew that I also kind of always had an interest in business. And so I thought that the perfect mix of business and the arts was marketing. So that's what my major is in marketing. It really involves a lot of creativity, thinking outside of the box. Basically, anytime you go to the mall and you see advertisements or billboards or something like that, it's probably someone in marketing or advertising that came up with those solutions of how can we sell this shirt, how can we sell, those shoes, or how can we sell this watch or something like that. So I would say marketing is probably the one business discipline that really includes or really allows the most creativity. So I knew that that's probably the route where I should go because it's kind of the best of both worlds, in the business side and the artistic side.
How do you describe your hometown? Like, I heard you said that it wasn't like the best environment, but you learned to love it and stuff. Mm-hmm. But like, is there anything that you would change about it? Anything about it that if you could fix, you would?
Mm-hmm. I think in pretty much every city, there's always those neighborhoods or the community, where there are people who don't really have a lot of money. They probably live in homes that really aren't up to par. They probably go to schools that aren't up to par as well, mm-hmm. and they're surrounded by others, who are, whether they're in gangs or, just living a life that's not good. Mm-hmm. One thing that I would probably help in my hometown is to offer more resources to those communities. Yeah. A lot of those people are in those situations just because, they don't have those resources, or they don't even know that they do need those resources. I know there are a lot of people who need jobs, are looking for jobs, but they don't know how to make a resume. They don't know that, you should dress a certain type of way when you go to an interview. Mm-hmm. You should ask certain questions, and they don't know that they don't know. So I will offer those resources to those in the communities to be able to, help them out and give them the tools that they need to get out of the situation that they're in.
Norwood is a very amazing place. But when you walk around or you drive to a different, neighborhood and everything, like you just said, not everybody's so fortunate to have living places like others. Mm-hmm. And like you said, your hometown is certain parts that experience that. Mm-hmm. And were you in one of those
sections?
So
I lived in a part of town, just to kind of paint a visual. We didn't live on a street where it was lined with trees, mm-hmm. and big, beautiful, tall trees that's been there for 100 years. My street was lined with tree stumps, so trees that was cut down or something like that. Yeah. We didn't on my block. We didn't have like a block full of beautiful homes and white picket fences and beautiful green grass. It was a house here, an empty field here, and then a empty field with a burned down house and yellow tape around it, and then another, kind of run down house. So just to kind of paint a visual of the area that it looked like. And this kind of was nothing to sit on the couch and hear gunshots. Yeah. That was sort of like, you heard them, but you didn't call 911. It was just like, oh, someone's shooting again. Or it was nothing to hear an argument or someone fighting down the street. That was just kind of the norm. So that's just to kind of paint a visual of kind of what the neighborhood was like.
As you just was saying, like the stumps and the trees and everything, I was thinking about like your childhood and like, was you that outside kid, the one that always liked being with friends, or were you more like in the room watching TV or reading books or, you know?
I have 6 older brothers, but myself and 2 others lived in the house because we were in around the same age. And for me, I was more of the shy and reserved kid, so I didn't really say much, and I didn't really play with others unless my brothers were there playing with them as well. But I was probably the kid where, you know, I would just rather stay at home.
Yeah.
You know, I would just want to watch TV or watch my cartoons or even take a nap. But I would go outside and play with other kids and other kids on the block, but mainly only if my brothers were out there with me. Because they were more outgoing and they were older than me, so I felt like I was sort of safe with them.
When you went to school or just walking to the store, you know, just outside in the environment that you were in, was it like ever a time when did you feel, how do I say this, not safe, but familiar to where you were around? Like, if I'm walking in Norwood right now, I would feel okay because I'm been here. But if I walk into, I don't know, like somewhere else, if I go where you from, I'll probably be a different feeling.
Definitely.
Have you ever like walked around and just seen like somebody doing something no good and your feelings just compressed?
No, I think it's kind of just what you said. Because you grew up in the environment, it's what you know, it's what you're familiar with. You don't really become super frightened.
Yeah.
So if I was walking down the street and I were to see or hear like a fight down the way, you know, I wouldn't like be frightened and run, because it's kind of sad to say, but it's kind of the norm. You just you know, just used to it. So it's not something that will alarm you and say, oh crap, I need to run to safety, when, you know, it happens so much. It's just kind of, it's just kind of the norm. You don't really, it's what you know, it's what you're familiar with.
What would you tell other kids, like, how to keep going and still achieve their goals no matter what they're going through? What would you tell them to help them with that?
Definitely. It's very easy to kind of forget what your goals are, and kind of just, with so much going on in everyone's lives, it's very easy to kind of, whatever your struggles are, to kind of overshadow what your goals are. So there's one thing that I've done that I tell a lot of people to do, is to create a vision board. And so, have any of you heard of what a vision board is? Or
I can interpret what it is, but I never had one.
Yeah, so a vision board is you just take like a cork board or a magnetic board, and you put anything on that board that's going to inspire you, whether if it's a quote, you write your goals out on a sheet of paper and you paste them on your board, and you put them in a spot where you'll see every single day, whether if it's on your door, on your bathroom door, your bathroom mirror, so that every day when you wake up, you're going to see that board, and that's like a constant reminder of what inspires you, what your goals are, what it is you want to go in life. Maybe your dream city is New York City. Maybe just a picture of New York. That seeing that picture every single day is going to constantly remind you, even no matter what you're going through, it's going to constantly remind you of what your goals are. And it's up to you to figure out, so really take time to sit down and map out, okay, these are my goals, and so what is it going to take for me to reach those goals? And even take that roadmap and put it on your vision board so that you see it every single day, so it doesn't, you know, they say, you know, the saying, out of sight, it's out of mind. If it's in sight, you know, it's on your mind all the time. And so I would say to make a vision board, and that way it's always there in front of your face, and to sit down and map out a plan to figure out what it is you should do or how to go about reaching those goals, and then do it.
When you were in Toledo, that's your university, correct?
Yep.
You were in there and everything, you know how you take exams or everything. What was even for me, like, what's a strategy that you had that made you memorize stuff? Because I know college is harder than middle school. So what was your strategy, or how did you prepare for that before you went?
College is hard. I won't tell you it's not hard, but it's definitely worth it. But I would say, for me, I'm very big on, my environment really plays a big part on how productive I am. And so I couldn't study on campus because there's too many distractions. You know, you see friends, and even in the library, it's quiet, but to me, I don't know. It's too distracting seeing other people, and chances are I'm going to see a friend. I'm going to start a conversation. But for me, I love going to coffee shops. So going to a coffee shop, I can just really get in the zone. I really kind of, I have my hot cup of coffee, take a sip of my latte or whatever it is, and I have my head in the books, and I can just, I can study. I can crank out a paper in a matter of an hour, hour and a half. I found that that's my place where I can really focus and study my material or type out a paper or something like that. So for me, I would say figure out what it is or where it is that you are most productive. Even the time of day, I found that I'm more productive in the morning.
Yeah.
So really take advantage of what you know about yourself. So if I know that I'm more productive in the morning and that environment-wise I do very well in a coffee shop, then I'll really try to make time to go to a coffee shop in the morning to get my work done, since I know that that's when I'm most productive. So really take the time to figure out what time of day, basically figure out who you are as a person. What time of day are you more productive? What type of environment do you find that you're more productive in? And then take advantage of that.
Who did you do this for? Like, I understand that, it's for yourself and you want a good life for yourself, but even when you sat down on a bed and just thought about, like, what if I just work at McDonald's? What if I just, do what I do, just give up right now and then try again later or something? What made you just look in a mirror or look at your reflection and be like, I need to do this because of this?
So aside from myself, as you mentioned, I would say my family, my church family, because all of my life growing up, those people have always been there behind me. They're your supporters. They're clapping and they're rooting you on and saying, you can do this. They've always been there to help, whether if it's, on a test, someone older helped me study, make a project type of paper. Even if it's financial, they've always been there to help push me to reach success. Even through high school, we're fortunate enough to be able to go through a Catholic high school with a good education, but that didn't come free. That came with a tuition. So that came with a cost that was expensive and took some sacrificing to get me through. So if I realized that dropping out of college is like, man, that's kind of like a slap in my parents' face to pay for me to have a good education, to be able to go to college, and then I get to college and then I drop out. It's kind of, in a sense, in my mind, it's kind of a slap in the face. So so aside from myself, I would say my parents, my family, and my church family as well.
How does it feel to be done with school?
It feels so good to be done with school, I'm telling you. College is 4 years. Well, it took me 4.5 years to finish college, and I couldn't wait to graduate and then just work and be in the real world. However, I do know that there's still growth. There's still places that I want to go and levels I want to reach. So I am planning on going back to school in the fall to get my graduate degree. So I can't say that I'm really looking forward to it, but however, it just goes back to understanding what it is you want to do and knowing the route that's going to take to get there. So sometimes you have to do what you don't want to do what you do want to do. So I would never jump and raise my hand and say, yes, I'm going back to school. But however, I am going back to school, and because I just know that I need it, and it'll be done before you know it. I'm hoping maybe 1.5 years or 2 years. But again, it goes back to what I said. If time is going to go on anyways, if 2 years are going to pass anyways, I might as well just get it done and wipe my hands of it and say that it's behind me. So.
You know how you were talking about, your church family, your real family, and you know how, like, you was talking about how they've been the main supporters around you and always had your back. Was it any time there was people that you thought had your back, and then, like, when you, like, in middle school growing up, it's everybody friends or everybody enemies, and either you friends, you beef, like all that stuff, all those obstacles, drama, unnecessary stuff. Have you ever experienced that and it made you better? Like, you lost a friend and you grown from it, and it helped you get to where you are. Like, instead of having that weight down on your shoulder, you're now, you're around people that want to see you do good instead of those that are clapping in front of your face but not,
I can honestly say that I don't think I've ever experienced that. I've never really had honestly, I know it may be hard to believe because sadly it happens to a lot of people, but I've never really had a friend that that turned on me or did something behind my back that just wasn't right. Honestly, I've never had that. But however, I will say that I've always been very selective in who I chose to be my friend.
Yeah.
And so there's this quote that I heard: choose your friends as you would choose your fruit.
Yeah.
So in other words, whenever you're at a market or at the Kroger or a grocery store and you're buying an apple, you really check it. You make sure it's not bruised, it's not cut, it's not beat up. And so in that sense, you choose your friends the same way. So be very selective in who you choose to be around and who you choose to bring into your inner circle and who you choose to open up to. And once you are very selective, in that kind of selection process, you probably can slash out a lot of people who you find out really aren't the best person to be a friend with. So I will say kind of having that mindset is the reason why I can really sit here today and say that I've never really had anyone that, like an ex-friend that, that we had beef and they did something behind my back and like now we're not friends anymore. So I would say, yeah, just I'll leave you with that quote is to choose your friends as you would choose your fruit.
Well, that's it for today. We're kind of out of time. And it was really nice talking to him. It was really fun. I enjoyed it personally a lot. We'll see you next time and have a good day.
Thank you.